Okay, you guys, and welcome to another video, and thanks for joining me. Today, I'm going to do a couple of window boxes. Last year, I did some window boxes with some of the usual petunias, etc. But this year, I'm going to do them with this beautiful begonia, and it is bonfire orange, and it's absolutely stunning. You put two of these together into your trough, and I'll tell you, the display in about a month's time will be just absolutely amazing. I got it in two different colors. I got it with the light green foliage, and I got it with the dark burgundy foliage. So I'm going to do one with the light green foliage and one with the dark green foliage. I'm also going to put into each window box just one of the orange geranium or pelargonium and a couple of trailing lobelias just for the corner. Now, I have a secret to share with you. And that is, when you're doing window boxes or hanging baskets in particular, if you get yourself a couple of, the Chinese takeaway trays, like these little plastic tubs, and you bury them into your pot, what will happen is they will gather with the water, and the water will then act as a little reservoir in your window boxes. So if you don't get to water them for a couple of days, they shouldn't dry out, because these should fill, and eventually the roots should start to grow into the little container to get to the water. So I'm going to just move my compost here out of the way, and I'm going to place my plastic tray in. So it won't interfere with the depth of planting my plants. They should still have enough space. So the first thing I'm going to do, and Scooch is barking at Harold because he's going mad today, is I'm going to get my pelargonium, and I'm just going to dunk it into, I've got some water with some tomato food in there. I have soaked it overnight, so it is nice and wet, but it's been nice and sunny today, so I'm just giving it another quick dunk, and I'm going to get that straight in to my trough. And then I'm just going to put into each of these little corners a trailing lobelia, and that will just help to get them out over, although I don't know how much of them you're going to see because these begonia bonfires are going to get very big. So, and literally two. I also experimented, which I'll let you know in another video. I also experimented because there's a lot of pots to fill around Heathfield, and obviously buying all these annuals, I did last year take out my begonias and all my pelargoniums, and I dry stored them in cardboard boxes without any soil, and I covered them in newspaper, and I took them all out this year, and certainly all the geraniums, the pelargoniums were destroyed. They were just rotted. They were just spongy. However, the begonias showed signs of new growth, so I've planted them in a few places, in a few pots, and we'll see how we get on with them coming back. Also did another experiment in a couple of window boxes. I split my begonias to see how they do being divided, because then you get two plants for the price of one. So I'm literally going to pop that in there. I'm going to get some compost to go around. Okay. And I'm hoping that these are going to look, in a couple of weeks' time, absolutely out of this world. I have been to the garden centre and I have bought so many that I really, really desperately need to get these planted, because they have sat here. The weather has been absolutely atrocious, lashing rain. And I know that it's been the same in London because Chris has told me. And so these have just sat on the courtyard floor out here. I'll give you a quick glimpse of all the plants that I've been buying. I bought these lovely big blousy begonias as well, which I absolutely love. So I'll just pick one up and I'll show you. And I bought two colors. I bought these beautiful peachy orange colored ones, which are exquisite. And I bought these lovely dark crimson red ones. So they're going to go into some pots and troughs and all sorts of things. So now that we've done those, I've also done something exciting as well. My brother-in-law, who's working on a building site, what they're doing is they're regenerating houses which have got council tenants in, and they're trying to make them with this air to water heat pumps and all the rest, and airtight and all that sort of thing. So they've removed all the chimney pots. So my brother-in-law rang me and said, would you like some chimney pots for the garden? He goes, because I've got about 14 of them. And I said, oh, yes, please. So they're clay and terracotta. And what I've done is I've just popped them round the drain over there, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And I've put plastic pots inside, which I've put a geranium in. So So I'm hoping that I'll have a nice display of red around the outside back door there. Finally, I'm going to get my little bird, and I'm going to pop my little bird in there so he can fly away. And that's it. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a good drink of some very diluted tomato feed, and that should hopefully give it a really good start and get it going. And then I'm going to do my next window box with my dark red, and I'm going to put them on the kitchen windows, and we'll see how they go from there. Okay, so now for window box number 2. And again, I'm going to put in 2 trailing lobelias just here in the corners. And they should hopefully get going down and trailing down over the sides. I've got my geranium. I've already got my plastic takeaway pot in there to gather my water. And I'm going to pop in my pelargonium, geranium, whatever you wish to call it. Okay, and then I'm also going to pop in my 2 begonias. And these ones actually are called begonia waterfall. So they sound really interesting. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how these fill out these window boxes this year in comparison to what we had last year. So it's really exciting to see. I always worry that you're putting too much in to a window box, but I think there's nothing nicer than a really full, lush window box as opposed to one that looks like you've scrimped at the garden centre buying your annuals. I will at some point get round to growing my own from seeds. I'm determined to try, but for this year we're not going to take that on board because Nikolai's had a lot to do with the storm damage and still has a lot to do. I know a lot of you are thinking the gardens are looking fabulous, and they are looking fabulous, and I am being a bit hard on myself because I have worked very hard, and with the help of the lovely Tracy as well, who's doing the filming today. She's my Australian fugitive. Say no more to the camera, because we don't want An Garda Síochána or the HM Revenue and Customs coming looking for her. So in we'll go with our little bird, and this time we'll put him on this side, and he's going to peck away there for some nice little insects for the nest. And there you have it. And that is 2 window boxes that are so simple, but trust me, when I video these in a month's time, they will be just a furnace of red, orange, flaming beauties. Okay, so I also want to talk to you about propagating our tree aeoniums, the darker one. And so literally all I've done is I have broken off, there's new rose pellets all around the outside. So I've literally broken it off like that. And I take off the bottom set of leaves, okay? And I just leave myself with a little baby like that. Then you just leave that somewhere to dry for a few days. That wound needs to heal. So we'll just leave that out for a few days. And here is one I've already done. And literally what I've done is I've got my pot with a little bit of compost, and I've got some horticultural grit, which is these little stones, okay? And so I'm mixing them in with the compost, okay? They like free draining, okay? They don't like to be waterlogged. They like free draining. So I'm going to get a little bit more compost in there and a little bit more grit, okay? And I'm just going to make sure the top of the pot is the grit so that when you water it or when the rain splashes on it, it doesn't splash down everywhere. Okay. And then I've got my little tool, which literally just helps me to poke a hole in the middle. And all I do then is when that's healed, I pop that in. Okay. And then give that a good water, let it free drain, and then just leave it all summer long outside, and it will be as happy as Larry. So there's one I've potted up. I've actually potted up a few of them. So that's a good way of propagating, because sometimes these don't survive the winter. Even though I bring them into the greenhouse, they still don't survive, some of them. And some of them do. And then you get some of them that grow bent. No harm in that, I hear you say. And they're fun to have too. And then this one will hopefully, these little rosettes around the outside will get bigger, and this one will get big, and then you'll be able to divide it again next year. And so you should never end up without any once you've got a plant. Okay? Okay, you guys, so we're in from the garden. Now we're going to make those delicious, simple chocolate and orange cupcakes. Now, you can simplify these for the kiddies, or you can modify them and make them slightly more glamorous for us grown-ups. Although I don't like being called a grown-up very often. Let me run through with you what you're going to need. Your mixing bowl, you're going to need a sieve, a spatula and a whisk. You're also going to need a muffin cupcake holder lined with just your little cupcake things, paper cases, and you're going to need your cooling rack. And I just thought, as it's so hot out there today, we brought a little bit of the garden inside with us, rather than trying to do it outside because it's unbearable. So let's run through our ingredients for these delicious cupcakes. You will need, in this bowl here, I've got 40 grams of cocoa powder, a half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, a half a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, and I've also got 150 grams of plain flour. Just very easy to put them all into a bowl and incorporate them, and then we'll sieve them all into our wet ingredients a little bit later. So for our wet ingredients, we're going to put 3 medium eggs. They should be 2 large eggs, but my friend's chickens, I don't know what's going on with them at the moment. They're not very large. So we're going to do 3 medium eggs. We've got 100 mils of vegetable oil. We've got 250 mils of buttermilk, and you guys know that I don't buy buttermilk, so I make my own, which is 2 tablespoons of distilled malt vinegar distilled white vinegar into my milk, full fat milk. We have a little bit of orange essence, and we've also got some vanilla extract. And we've got 180 grams of granulated caster sugar, or normal granulated sugar. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crack my eggs into the bowl. And again, you know from before, Nikolai never puts eggs directly into a recipe. He always cracks them first of all into a little bowl to make sure they're okay. And these ones are. Well, that one is. So let's carry on with our 3 eggs. Number 2. And egg number 3, and they all look good to go, so they're all going in there, and we're going to just bash them up a little bit, and then we're going to add in our sugar, and we're going to whisk that up a little bit. Okay, and once we've got our eggs and our sugar combined, we're going to add in our oil, and we're going to give that a little whisk. This recipe is super easy. Now, I should have said to you that the first thing you need to do is you need to preheat your oven. So it's 180 fan and gas mark 4. And Chris will link in the description what the American Celsius is for you guys. As of course, all of my friends are in America, it seems. In those wonderful United States. Okay, we're going to add in our buttermilk. And we're going to just clean out this jug because I'm going to show you a little trick for filling our cupcake cases, which will involve filling this jug with our mix. So let's make that look slightly more presentable. Okay. Now, also into that, we're going to add our teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we're going to add a teaspoon, this is lovely vanilla extract because you can actually see the bean in there as well. And then we're going to also add in our teaspoon of orange essence. And we'll add a little bit of orange zest to our icing. We're going to make a nice frosting for these. Now, I don't know about you guys, but you know sometimes you get these cupcakes and they've got that much icing piped on the top and you're biting into it and you're thinking it's just so sweet and too much icing. We're not going to do that today. We're going to put a little bit of frosting on the top, and we're going to decorate some of them with a pretty edible flower from the garden, and then for the more adult version we're going to decorate them with a lovely Lily O'Brien's Irish chocolate, so extra special for the top of that. Okay, so now we've got all our wet ingredients. We're going to get our sieve and we're going to start sieving in our dry ingredients in there. Now, this is a very liquid recipe, so we're just going to combine all of this together. Okay, and then we're going to fill our cupcakes. And we're going to fill them 3/4 of the way. And using our finger, we're going to clean off so we don't make a mess over all of the... Okay, so cupcakes are ready for the oven now, and they're going to go in for about 18 to 20 minutes. I would say 20 minutes probably, but I'll check them after 18. Okay, so now we're going to make the frosting for these delicious cupcakes. And it's very simple. 50 grams of softened butter, room temperature butter. And I've also grated the zest of 1 orange in there, and the smell and the aroma is just amazing. Also in here, I've got 110 grams of icing sugar and 20 grams of cocoa powder. So 110 grams of icing sugar and 20 grams of cocoa powder, and I've just combined that together, and we're going to be sieving that in. Most important, remember, Nikolai says always sieve your icing sugar. You do not want a gritty, grainy, horrible, sandy icing. It's not nice. And in here, I've just got some freshly squeezed orange juice, which we will add to the icing to make it the right consistency, and we'll figure out how much that will be. It'll vary depending on your icing sugar, I think. So we'll get started with creaming our butter first of all. So slowly to start with, because you don't want that butter going all over the shop. And I have to stop because I'm smiling to myself, because Scooter is exhausted today with the heat. So he's not doing his usual barking conundrum, and he's actually asleep on the floor to cool down. Oh, I spoke too soon. He's got up. He'll go over to his bed now, and it's fluffy. It's too warm. He'll get in for a minute, and then he'll get back out. Right, so cream together your butter until it changes colour slightly. And actually, by creaming it with the orange zest, you actually really infuse the flavour of the orange with the butter, which is really nice. Icing sugar and cocoa powder. And that can all just go in. Now, slowly, slowly, just incorporate, because otherwise you'll have a shower of dusting everywhere, and we don't want that. And you just want it to come together. Again, I'm going to add just another teaspoon of orange. And I think I'll add another teaspoon of orange. So that's about 2 tablespoons of orange juice has gone in there. Okay, you guys, so cupcakes have cooled completely, icing is ready, and we're going to just decorate. Tracy has just said to me, are you not going to use like a nice piping bag? That defeats the whole purpose of simple chocolate orange cupcakes. We don't want to make it complicated. I don't want to have to clean a piping bag after we squeeze all that chocolate goodness out of it. And then what happens to all the chocolate goodness that's stuck inside of it? So no, we're going to very simply get our spatula, and we're going to just smooth over some of that beautiful chocolate frosting on the top. Because you remember what I said to you, we don't want tons and tons and tons of this rich chocolate fudge, although it is delicious. There's nothing worse than biting into 3 inches and then your beautiful top lip is covered in chocolate and it's going up your nostrils, and what do you do then? So, simply on this one, we're going to put a little chocolate heart. Okay, and that's cupcake number 1. And then we're going to carry on, and we're going to... No, that's a little bit too much. Okay. Now, if, again, like I said, you're doing these for the kiddies, you can put a few Smarties on the top, or a little button, or something like that. And this one's going to have just a little edible flower on the top. Okay. And I'm going to continue on just decorating them until I run out of cupcakes. Okay, you guys, that is it. Simple, delicious chocolate and orange cupcakes. Fit for anybody when they come to visit for a cup of tea. So there you have it. And of course, Nikolai's going to have to try one. So, I wouldn't dare try to poison any of my guests, of course. So therefore, one must try one first. And look at that. Oh my God. Scooter. That is just heaven. So you guys, please do try them. Let me know in the comments how they went for you and how they went down with the family and friends. And thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you very soon for another video. But meanwhile, I'm going to enjoy my cupcake.